I want to talk with you about the secret law of promotion. You see, we live in a world where someone can go all the way up and achieve massive success, and someone who's extremely successful can fall all the way down and achieve failure. And it's relevant because a lot of people think that when they're at a certain level, that they're going to stay there. And it goes both ways. If someone is down, they think that they're going to remain at that level because life is hard. So we think if there's persecution on the low level, that it's going to continue to persist and it's hard to see your way up. But God has a plan, right? And He can always change your circumstance by making sure that everything is done completely right. Alternatively, when you're all the way up, it's easy to think, wow, I made it. I'm in a position. I'm the president of the company. I have millions of dollars. I'm the best athlete in the world. I'm the best looking woman. I'm the best looking guy. I've achieved success that no one in my whole family has achieved. But suddenly, God can take you all the way down. It happens all the time. How many times a day? Every single minute it happens. Somebody has gotten some kind of news in their position. Let's say they're the CEO of a company, and they're saying, "Sorry, Ralphie, we got to let you go." And somebody is at the very lowest at the company. "Hey, Susie, let's go up. Instead of you just cleaning the floors for minimum wage, we need you to be supervisor." And suddenly it changes her life, and suddenly it changes his life. The key here is that anything could happen to anyone at any time, all the time. And no one is exempt from the law of change. Okay? Everyone is subjected to one snap of the finger from God. Anybody can see a radical shift based on what God has for their life, what He's planned. It's imperative to understand this because if you really think about it, even the best wife in the world can become a babysitter. And even the best babysitter can eventually become a wife. That's right. A wife can become a babysitter, and a babysitter can become a wife. Right? It's like some switcheroo here. We've seen a ball boy in sports become the best athlete. And we've seen the best athlete get injured and doesn't even have the confidence of a ball boy. You see, when we think about this and we realize the deepest truth, we're going to understand that God has control of all the shifting, but He also has control of all the gifting, right? Our giftedness controls our shiftedness. And so, according to our level of gifting, will be in accordance to our level of shifting if we use it correctly. But if we misuse it, if we mishandle the giftedness, then what's that old saying? If you don't use it, you lose it, right? If you don't use your talents, you lose your talents. Or someone could use their talents all the time, every day, in every way, but because of their attitude and their lack of humility, God can easily take it away from them. He can easily say, you know what? This guy, this gal has proven to build themselves up in this way professionally. But personally, they're not where I want them to be. And so, therefore, I am going to have to dismantle what it is that they think they're in charge of. And so, he removes them from a place of authority and he replaces them with someone who has greater humility. We've seen this in the Bible before, so many times. For example, the one queen in the book of Esther was asked to perform for the king. She refused. She thought she was too good. She thought that she was at a level that was higher than what he was asking her to do. So what happened? Eventually, the queen was replaced by Esther. There's so many people who are getting replaced right now. There's so many people who think they're at the top, and then 1 year later, they're all the way at the bottom. And vice versa. There's people at the bottom, and in 1 year, they're all the way at the top. Right? The law of reversal, the law of change, the law of promotion, the law of shifting according to your gifting. Right? So a lot of people think, oh, because I'm here, I'm going to stay. No, no, no. Right? Just because you're here, it doesn't mean you're going to be there. And just because you're there, it doesn't mean you're going to go back there. So we have to understand that once we humble ourselves before God the right way, we're not just humbling ourselves for people and trying to prove to others, oh, look how good we are. No, no, that never works. When we humble ourselves deep in our hearts before God, we get on our knees and we pray and we ask for change. Then eventually, that shiftedness will go along with our level of giftedness. Now, if someone is not that gifted, they're still going to experience a shift, but the shift is not going to be as dramatic as someone who is naturally gifted at the highest level. And a shift does not happen in just 1 day or 1 month or 1 year or even 3 or 5 or 10 years. It could be a lifelong journey. Right? Moses fled the wilderness. He was gone for years. Jesus Christ, his giftedness was at the highest level. He had to wait 30 years in order for his shift to take place. Imagine that the Messiah had to wait 30 years for his giftedness to take place. And when we realize this, we have to ask ourselves, what has God predispositioned us to do in this world? What is our purpose? Are we just living our life to pay the bills and to get by? Are we just trying to feed our kids and to make sure that we're maintaining the worldly affairs while forgetting that the spiritual affairs are a billion times more important? Because a lot of people don't realize that. They're thinking about their deadlines. They're thinking about their timelines. They're thinking about the things that are on a superficial level instead of the things that are on an ethereal level. But when you are bound by the thoughts of earth, then you are limited and you cannot receive the thoughts of heaven. All right? When you think that this is all there is right in front of you, if you're judging by what you can see, then you're not going to be able to become all that you can be. In other words, if you live by sight, then you can never have faith. But if you live by faith, then you can always have sight. Isn't that right? Can I get an amen? You see, it's very easy to understand this. A lot of people are like, well, how do you live by faith? Well, it's just by coming to Jesus Christ. It's just by knowing deep down that no matter what you're going through, that God is going to be the force that will take you to the next level. Because if you're trying to do this by human efforts, there's just so many things to do. Right? You can't do everything. You're just one person. So to think that you can stop all the bad habits, make all the changes, increase all your skill sets, work with all these people, set up all these opportunities, you're dead wrong. We only have 24 hours of the day, and we literally have to recharge about 8 hours in a day. And we need about 4 hours for recreation, and so therefore that leaves us with a maximum of 12 working hours in a 6 day period. And the seventh day, we got to rest. And if we don't rest, then God will make sure that we catch up. All right. If we don't make time for our rest, then God will make sure that we're stressed. And that's why a lot of people get sick. That's why a lot of people become ill, right? Because they're so worried about everything else and they never focus on their own health, right? It's important to love yourself, right? Jesus Christ said, love your neighbor as much as you love yourself, right? He didn't say, do not love yourself. He said, love your neighbors as much as you love yourself. Now, if all you care about is yourself, then you're going to fail, right? You have to care about yourself, right? You have to clip your fingernails, your toenails. You got to make sure that you wash your body, right? You have to make sure that you're training. You have to make sure that you're lifting, you're stretching, you're running, you're thinking, you're planning. You're going to the doctors, right? You have to take care of yourself. And if you take care of yourself, then you're going to be able to take care of other people too. All right? This is imperative to understand this. So, law of promotion is all about taking care not of yourself only, but of other people, but also expanding the level of giftedness that you have. Even if you have one gift, use that gift. Bible says if a man finds a valuable pearl, he's going to sell every single thing in the world in order to purchase it and sell it for a huger profit, a bigger profit, right? And that's exactly the approach that we have to take. If we know that we have that one thing that can be helpful to the world, helpful to the Lord, more importantly, to God, then we have to take that gift extremely seriously. We can't sit on it and be like, okay, after Christmas we'll start. Oh, I have to decorate for Halloween. Oh, I have to watch my kids. Oh, I have to wait to handle the affairs at court. Oh, I have to wait and to see what the doctor says. Jesus Christ says if we're not ready right now when he calls upon us, he's moving on to the next person. If he says you need to come today, and you said, hold on, my dad is sick, or I have to deal with these problems at work, you're never gonna have what it takes to follow the Lord. You have to count the cost. You have to pay the price. And most importantly, you have to sacrifice, right? You can't allow certain things that you're facing in the temporary stop you from achieving the things that you can receive in the eternal. If you do, then you're subjected to the inferno. And that means hell, right? If you don't understand what God is saying right now, then how are you going to understand what he's going to say in the future? But if you understand what he's saying right now, then it's going to set you up to understand what he's saying in the future. Right? When I first started listening to God, it was just basic directives. He was just like, go here, talk to them, do this. And I was like, okay. And I did it and I did it. Now, 5 years later passed. He's like, do this specifically. Do it this way. Do it that way, right? And then 10 years passed. And he's like, okay, now that you know how to follow my voice and you know where the Holy Spirit's leading you, make sure you do it specifically in this way and don't miss a single detail, right? Because God is training us all the time in every way, every single day. And there's divinity in the details, right? There's divinity. That means God has all these details he has all these specifics in the details, right? A lot of people say there's the devil in the details. I say there's divinity in the details, right? There's divine power and understanding specifically the little things that must be changed, because you can have a big project and if there's one error and God is on you and you don't make that change, you're not going to feel good. That's a sin. But other people miss those items, right? You might produce it and they might not see it, but the bottom line is you saw it. God saw it. And so you have to be able to follow the divine order of those details all the time. in every way, personally and professionally. That is how you move up in life, right? That is how you see the bigger picture. That is how you receive a greater vision. And you're able to jump onto higher missions because you can see exactly what God is saying in the most infinitesimal ways. And it matters. Some may say it's trivial, but I say it's very important, right? God is watching all things. Sorry, I had a phone call there. Remember, anybody can go anywhere at any time, all the time, all right? Some people can go up, some people can go down, right? I'm sure you've received a call that was so favorable and it said, hey, can you come in? Or hey, you got the job, or hey, you got in school, or any kind of promotion. I'm sure you've received some kind of favor like that in your life at least once, probably multiple times. And I'm sure there's other times where you got a call and you're like, uh-oh, I'm fired. What do you mean? Or uh-oh, what do you mean the health report says this? Or uh-oh, what do you mean I owe this bill? I thought you got the check. I sent the check last week. Right? We have situations like this. But punishment doesn't always mean that we've lost. Okay, punishment doesn't mean that we're gone, right? It doesn't mean that we can't come back. What it means is that God is showing us how to become better. He's showing us that, look, I'm making a shift because you have a high level of gift. And because you have a high level of gift, then I have to make sure that there's no little obstacles in the way to stop you from becoming the person I want you to be. And so sometimes the test requires a lot of patience. All right. You might think, I don't need this. Like, why do I have to be sick for 2 weeks? Or why do I have to pay this ridiculous bill? Or why do I have to, go and talk to these people that I don't want to talk to? But that's part of the testing because the testing will lead to blessings. So sometimes it's not punishment, sometimes it's just persecution. And you might think, oh, I'm being punished. Like, why did I get a ticket? Am I being punished? Oh, God? No, you're being persecuted, right? You may have had, expired sticker, or you may have parked in the wrong spot, but you did the best that you can do, right? You did the best to your ability. And you might not have read the signs correctly. It's not like they clearly indicated you can't park here, right? Now, you had some doubts before you parked there, but you didn't really know, right? God knows. God knows that their sign is not clear, right? God knows that certain systems do not work exactly the way they were intended to work, right? The healthcare system fails so many people every single day, right? The courtroom system fails to deliver justice every single day. The educational system makes smart people feel like they're dumb and dumb people feel like they're smart every single day. The church system makes the false prophets and those who are not even on the way to heaven look like they're the most godly people, and neglect the people who are actually humble in their hearts. But simply because they can't pay money, they're not glorified in front of their congregation at church. Right? There's so many faults and flaws in so many systems, and sometimes people look good, and it makes them seem like they're better than they are. But the reality is that God knows exactly what is going on in our hearts. So if you get betrayed, right? If you are lied on, if someone has cheated you, if someone has um, misadvised you, or has done anything wrong to you in your life, God knows. What they did to you is not the final answer, my brothers and sisters. It's not the final calling in your life. Even if they screwed you over on the highest level, they do not have the end say, right? They don't have the final word. They're not the ones pushing in the final outcome. They are not the king. They're not the queen. They did not checkmate you. They did not end your life. They did not make sure that they conspired with all the right people to terminate you. They might think that, but they didn't do that, right? You might think, oh man, I thought she was going to love me for the rest of my life. I thought he was going to be there for the kids. I thought my boss wanted me for the next 15 years until I retired. Right? People make promises all the time. They tell you that they're going to give you the whole entire world, and then suddenly, within a few days, months, years, they fail you. You can't believe it. You're astounded. Right? Expectation is the root of all disappointment, especially if you have false expectations, or even if you have good expectations, but they just happen to fall short. This happens all the time, right? People say all these things, and if you do these right things, then you're going to get promoted. Or if you do this, then we're going to make it happen. Or if you make this much money, we're going to have our next kid. Right? All these situations happen, and you might think, man, am I being gaslit? Like, am I going crazy? They're making me feel like I'm doing things wrong, that I'm the bad guy. How many jobs have I personally worked where I'm like, yo, I thought I was a good worker, but they're saying I'm not doing it right. And they're picking out little trivial details, and I'm like, that does not matter compared to all the things I do in the job. You're picking out one little thing, and you're not giving me credit for all the good things I do. And that's a shame. And they kept doing this and doing this and doing this, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think God wants me at this place any longer. And I had to walk out. And the manager knew what they were doing, but I knew I had control as well. I knew that I'm not subjected to who they think I am. I deserve much better. And I say this humbly because a lot of times you might be in a position, and I talk to a lot of people, and they're not making the kind of money they want to make, but they love their job. Or vice versa. They're making a lot of money, but they hate their job, or they're barely getting by with their job. Right? There's a lot of situations that happen. And so what you got to do is you got to understand, where am I at right now? Take inventory and ask yourself, like, you need to do a real audit of who you are right now. Write out your strengths, your weaknesses, your skills, your deficits, the pros of you and the cons of you, and also take inventory of the people you trust the most. And take a day in your journal to just write it down, plan it out, to say, you know what, where am I at? And try to formulate a response. You can take a whole weekend if you want to. Right? Instead of doing the thing that you always do, say, you know what, I need 2 days off. And I'm just going to journal. I'm just going to set goals. I'm going to think about what I want 12 months from now. And I always like to have that mindset. Where do I want to be next year, this time? So right now it's October. And where do I want to be in October 2026? And I try to envision that. And I try to talk to the people in my life and see if they align with those ideas. Because some people, they'll tell you yes, but in their hearts, it's really a no. They'll say, oh, yeah, we can do that. But they're like skeptical. Or they say, yeah, I could kind of see that happening. And if they really can see it happen, then you got to be able to implant that vision and show them that mission. And eventually they'll say, you know what, I can see it. And then you are with them the next year. But even last year, this time, I had someone in my life and I was telling them, this is where I see us going. And they agreed, but they didn't believe. You see, people can say it and they're using a logical approach, but emotionally, they're not there. Right? A lot of people are emotionally unavailable, right? Because they're working so hard, they're thinking about their own problems, they're totally maxed out. And they can't really give a true assessment of what needs to happen here. And so, like, you might be giving your best, you might be trying your hardest, but they're just saying yes when they really mean no. Could work the other way around too. Somebody's probably maxed out and they're just saying no, you know what, don't put on too much on my plate, but they really mean yes because Maybe they're dealing with something right now, but 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from then, they're going to be ready for the opportunity when the time comes. I've had people this year, they said no, but 6 months later, they're like, you know what? The thing I thought I was going to do didn't work out. So let me join forces with you and I'm going to give you 3 times more effort. And they did, because that's how God works, right? God already knows that they said yes to that plan. He knows it's not going to work out. He already knows, like, they're going to give extra effort in this capacity, but that's not where they're supposed to be. But they need to go through that motion in order to test their patience, in order to see for themselves. And then when they finally come back to you, they're totally ready because they're properly informed about who they are and what they need to do at this time in their life. It's a lot of wisdom. Okay, it's a lot of wisdom. You got to understand what it means. And there's some people, like I said, they do the opposite. They say yes, and they talk it up, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll be ready, man. I'm totally there. It's gonna work out, man. I'm totally with you." And then suddenly, you find out they're so occupied. Something happened in their life. I've seen this a lot. I made a plan with somebody earlier this year, and I said, let's do this, let's do that. And they had every single reason to do it. That the time, the energy, the money, the resources, the people, everything was lined up. It was a perfect, majestic opportunity. And I knew, we both knew, God knew that this was exactly what we're supposed to do. But their parents had an ailment and they got sick. And this person couldn't handle it emotionally. And so they withdrew from the plan. And I said, if this is what you think it is, then all right, we got to move on. We can't do this. But this person persisted in their belief, in their fear of, oh, this my parent might die. I'm like, it's not that serious. Like, just like understand that the medical professionals are going to do their job. If they're not dead, they're going to be alive. And the person couldn't get through that. They couldn't understand that. And their parent made it totally fine. Like right now, they're perfect. They got everything they need. But that person, the way they perceived it, was way worse than it was. It threw them off at the time, and they were driving themselves crazy for a few weeks, and it threw off everything that they knew and everything that they were going to do. And this is what happens to people, right? They get swept right off their feet just because of the earthly affairs that happen in their life, and they think, okay, well, if this happens, and that must be a sign, and that's a shame. They see one little adversity and they consider that adversity the whole entire sign of like cutting off and stopping from where they were going to go. And many people fall into this trap. Oh, if she doesn't pick up the call, then it's not meant to be. No, man, call again, right? Oh, if they don't hire me, then perhaps I don't need to get a job or I should move out of this area. No, man, call again. Like, go to another place. Maybe I shouldn't be in this industry anymore. No, it's not the industry. It's this restaurant, right? It's this office. It's this boss that you're working with specifically. So you can't fall into that trap of thinking, oh, it's one thing. It's only that. And if it's only that, then I'm done. Right? You got to know, you got to understand, you got to have wisdom. You got to pray. You got to make decisions that are wise. You can't make hasty decisions and just say, well, I can't do this because I saw the signs. My brothers, my sisters, there's signs everywhere. All right, we see numbers. I see my first 3 numbers of my birthday all the time, and sometimes that's a sign for good. We're on the right track. I was facing some adversity, and I saw someone with a bumper sticker, and it says "God is with you." I'm like, wow, that's exactly what I need. Last year, this time, I was going through some hard times, and I saw another bumper sticker said "Be patient." Please be patient. It said actually, and I was like, you know what? God is right, right? At any single juncture of our life, He always gives us the right sign at the right time. He puts it right in front of us. We're not going to miss it. Maybe we might point out to somebody, hey, did you see that? They didn't see it, but you saw it, right? It doesn't mean they're not going to be with you. It just means like that sign was only for you, right? There's so many things that we see in this life that not everyone is going to see it with us, but we can explain it to them and we can say, you know what, affirmatively, this is the sign. But you got to make sure your sign is accurate. You can't be with someone and say, well, I'm not going to be with them because they're Sagittarius. No, that is not a sign, right? You got to understand the signs here. You can't just pick whatever you want to see and hope that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You got to make sure that everything is coordinated, right? And that it aligns with God's designs. So there you go, my friends. The law of promotion says that if you keep doing the right things in the right way with the right people at the right times, then you will be promoted. All right? Tough times will happen. All right? Bad things always happen to good people. But at the time, it's just seemingly bad, right? Like, for instance, the first car accident I got into, I realized after a while that I was with the wrong person that day. I think I was like 16 years old, just got my license. Someone made an illegal turn, hit me, then they blamed me. And then I realized, you know what? I don't even think it's about that. I could have fret over the car. I could have fret over all the money I had to pay and how my insurance was going to cover it because I didn't know. It was my first time. But what I realized was that the place that we were going wasn't the place I was supposed to be. It wasn't exactly what God wanted, right? So it may have seemed like a bad event, but God was leading me in the right place because of my level of giftedness. That person was also gifted that I was with, but they weren't going into the right direction. You see, your giftedness is going to take you to the right place, but only if you combine it with faith. Because faith plus works equals success. All right? Faith plus works also equals miracles. Because if you keep doing the right thing the right time with the right people over and over again for months, for years, for decades, what do you think God is going to do? He's going to elevate you, right? He's going to make sure that you are promoted. You go all the way up. One of the saddest things about promotion, though, is that certain people will be left behind. All right. Your parents might not understand. Your children might not understand. Your spouse might not understand. Your dog might not understand. Your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, your clients, the people in your life, they're not going to understand every single time. In fact, most of the time, they're not going to get it. So you might not get a proper farewell. In fact, some people might ghost you. Some people might curse you out. Some people might burn the bridge. Some people might cheat you, betray you, lie to you, try to defeat you, try to take your life because they know that the separation is happening right now. And because they understand, uh-oh, I don't have that much time with this person. I got to annihilate them, right? And then there's steps of sabotage that ensues because they know they only have so many weeks left and they have a lot of control right now. And so they're going to try to make that happen because they know that they're limited. They know that you're gifted. They know that you're actually moving up and they're moving down, or they're staying at the same level. But mostly they're moving down. And if they're at the same level, they become bitter because you're moving up and now they feel like they're down. And then they start to partake in that feeling of being down. And then they're further demoted. They slide further and further down the scales of success. They have to climb down the ladder while you're ascending. So some people won't understand. Sometimes you can't explain it to your parents. Hey, parents, I'm going for my next degree, or parents, I'm dropping out. Parents, you told me to work a stable job, but I'm starting my own business. Parents, you told me to work for the pizza shop. I don't like the pizza shop. Like, I know that I'm the eighth generation, and my great Uncle Tony was in the business, but I'm done with the pizza shop. Like, I don't want to be here. God is calling me to do something else. It might sound ridiculous. You might say, "Hey, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a policeman. I want to do something different." It might sound crazy to them, or even it might sound good to them, but they're just like, "I don't think you should do this," because they want you for their own selfish purposes. They're like, "Oh man, she's moving on. Well, I know going to school is the best decision for her, and marrying this man is the best decision for her, and moving out of state is the best decision for her. But I lost my babysitter, right? I lost my best friend. I can't get rides to the gym anymore. I don't have a coworker anymore." So they're going to try their best, and they're going to look nice while they're doing it. They're going to try to sit you down, wine and dine you, talk you out of doing your thing. And that's why you can't consult with flesh and blood. You have to consult with spirit. Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, will lead you every day in the right way every time. Because if he gives you an idea and he says you have to act on it, of course you have to consult with the right people. But if you start to consult with the wrong people, that's it. You're not going to make it. Because they're going to give you all the reasons not to do it. And they're going to tell you, look, stare in your eyes, tell you to make sure you think it over, okay? Or they might even put an ultimatum. If you do this, then we can't be friends anymore. And how sad is that? Then you're confronted with another decision. You already made the decision to be great, to follow the promotion that God has given you. But now they're saying, if you don't do this, we have to break up. We can't be friends. I'm going to have to cut you off, or I'm going to come after you. Right? So there's so many consequences when you get promoted. People will try to throw you into the lion's den. They want all the lions to devour you, and they'll act like they had nothing to do with it. They'll act like they're completely innocent. I've seen it so many times. It's happened to me in my life. That's how I know it so well. And I've even written books about this. Right? You don't become a 13-time author without knowing how to do these things. Right? You don't make millions of dollars in business and reach billions of people in this world without understanding the spiritual laws of success. And that's what I do, and that's what I practice, and that's what I teach. And some people want it and some people don't. Right? The world promotes foolishness, but those who really want wisdom will come to the right sources, and they're going to feed on it. They're going to understand it. It's going to develop. They're going to nurture, right? They're going to be able to implement the ideas, the concepts, the strategies, and they're going to know how to go about their goals. I've had a lot of people in the last dozen plus years who told me, "Daniel, no one has been in my life, but when I watch your videos, I read your books, it changes everything I do. You make me feel like I'm not alone. You make me feel like I'm actually someone that's going to do something." And I think that's important. That's the most important thing for me. That someone feels informed, someone feels encouraged, someone feels inspired to do something that they wouldn't have done unless they came across my work. So if you want to reach out to me, and even if it's a thank you, just write me at info@danielalley.com. We're going to leave it down here below. But email me if you have gratitude. That's cool. I appreciate that. I don't feel like I get enough, but I guess everyone does it, right? Like, we all want more credit. We all want more love. But the key here is just putting in the work, giving everything you got, understanding that God hears you. He's going to move you up. He's going to make sure that you're promoted based on the level of your natural giftedness. And if you want to experience a shift, then now is a perfect time for you to use your gift. And you got to figure out what that is. And if you already know what it is, then you got to follow the path to getting there. And no one's going to take you there automatically. No one's going to knock on your door and say, "Hey, by the way, You got this big gift in baking cookies. Like, you want to use it? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to like hold you by the hand and say you should start this kind of business, or you should, become a doctor. They're not going to make you do anything. They're not going to push you all the way and take the test for you and go through all the motions. People are busy. They have their own life to live. We have enough followers, but now we need more leaders. The world is in a deficit of leadership. People need those who can do the thing and teach them how to do it too. And that's what I do. So I appreciate you guys. The law of promotion says if you want to experience a shift, then you've got to use your gift in the right way, with the right people, at the right time. And you don't have to call out for their attention, anyone else's, but you have to call up to God. And you have to ask Him to help you so that you can elevate and do things the right way. Don't allow your sins to hold you back, no matter what they are, no matter how little you think it might be. It's not just a little cigarette. It's not a quick, 3-minute porn search. It's not, staying up too late just by half an hour. The enemy likes to get us in little ways to make us think that, oh, it's not that much. Just like what he did with Adam and Eve. He told Eve, oh, you weren't allowed to eat this fruit? Huh, we'll just taste it. It's not that bad. It's pretty good. God's just afraid you're going to see the truth. And she believed it, right? You can't eat the fruit of the devil, right? You have to understand that God has given you all the ideas, all the resources. You have everything you need in order to succeed. But you got to start now. And it's never too late. I don't care if you're 11, 45, 89, even 115. You can do it right now. So appreciate you guys. Much love. I'll see you next time. God is good. And remember, Jesus Christ is Lord. Take care.